Jen from Fabulous Paper Emporium. I've got a Step Up card for you. At least I think that's, yeah, Step Up. The original title of the video that I had seen was from Iced Images, and she titled it Double Side Step Up. And this is kind of what she created. The only difference that I had done is this panel on hers was probably put in right in the middle. And when you go to stand it up, it just looked like it wasn't kind of sitting properly. So when I did mine, I knew in advance that I wanted to put this at the bottom. Really super cute card. It all folds down so you can put it in an envelope and mail it. So, and then hopefully is not one of those really intricate cards that you need to kind of be there to show the person how to open. So hopefully they will understand that this is how you can display the card. There's plenty of space on the back because it's not like a card. It doesn't open because these are fixed. So you could easily write a message on the back, or you could always stamp and have some messages and sentiments on the top, on the side, that kind of thing. So this is the card that we're going to be making today. I'm using this super fun paper collection from Photoplay. It's called Fetch, and it's everything Puppa Dog. So this is some of, hang on, let me just grab it really quickly. I guess that's kind of the plus about having a small craft studio is everything is usually within arm's reach. So this is the collection Fetch, and it's super, super, super cute. I was kind of saving it to do an album. There's still plenty of paper to do an album. So I kind of reserved all the stickers to so that I could use it for a mini album. These are all the stickers that come with the pack. And there's another one that's very similar in the sense that very similar colorways. And it's also done by Becky Moore for Photoplay. And it is called Cat Lover. So I haven't done anything with this one. Maybe we'll do the album in the Cat Lover paper. But again, super cute with all kinds of kitty cat things. So yeah, so today I'm actually going to do 2 cards. So this is the first card that we're going to do. Once we have finished this, then we are going to move over to a variation of this that I've kind of come up on my own. At least I think it's something new, but you never know. So we'll get into that a little bit later. This is super fun, super easy. And again, it is just kind of one of those nice cards that you can kind of display on your desk, on your mantle. Really, really super cute. So I'm going to set that off to the side. We're going to go through some of the paper measurements. First, I'm going to go through the white cardstock. Now for this, because I really wanted it to be, I knew that there was going to be layers, and layers usually help to make your card, sturdy. But my base to this, I've used 110-pound cardstock for the base. I had a note for myself to try and use 80, but I didn't have any 80 that was kind of in the colorways that I wanted. So I just went with the 110. It worked beautifully. I love the way it scores. I love the way it's just a little bit more sturdy than your average paper. The blue is 65, and then the regular, designer paper is probably in and around 65 as well if I feel up my paper. Anyhow, getting back to the white card pieces. So we're going to start with a piece that is 11 by 5. We're going to be scoring this one. You'll also have another piece that is 8 by 3. And then a last piece that is, I think this is going to sit that way. Yeah, so that's going to be 5.5 by 5. Okay, so these two pieces we're going to end up scoring, and I'll get into the score pieces later. And then we have, we've got some blue I chose blue cardstock. So these are our matte layers. So the first one that we have is going to be 5 3/4 by 4 3/4. Then we have a piece that is 5 1/4 by 4 3/4. And then the last piece that we have is going to be 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. So those are our blue pieces. I did also cut 2 pieces. These are kind of optional, but I did cut 2 pieces to put on the side panels, even though they kind of don't really show if you have it displayed like this. If you're folding it and putting it in the mail, I just felt like it just offered a little bit of a finishing touch. I didn't use the designer paper on here because that would have meant like a 1/2 inch, but you're more than welcome to do that. That would be, this one is 3/4 by 4 3/4. This one is 3/4 by 2 3/4. So if you wanted to put designer paper on both of these, you would just take off a 1/4 inch. I apologize. My dog just walked into my craft studio and, you know, because it's nice and cold in here. So, which is why I'm always wearing long sweaters and stuff. So this piece would then be, if you wanted to put designer paper on top, would be 1/2 by 4 1/2. And this would be 1/2 by 2 1/2. So again, totally optional, and you know, just is up to whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Okay, so I obviously forgot to cut one of these pieces. So I'm just going to trim that up really quickly. That should have been 2 3/4. But I did not trim that. It was leftovers from what I was cutting for my other card that I'm super excited to show you as well. Okay, so that's that for the first layers. And then we have, I chose some of the grassy kind of paper, which has some of the cut aparts on the back side, which are, again, super cute. And I would have used the cut aparts, but they just don't fit with the card measurements. And I just didn't feel like I wanted to invest the time to revamp everything. So for this layer, this one is 5 1/2 by 4 1/2. This one is this is 5 by 4 1/2. And then my very last one is 3 1/2 by 2 1/2. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to grab my scoreboard, my handy dandy scoreboard. We're going to take the 2 long pieces. So I'm going to move some of this out of the way. Okay, so we're going to start with the piece that is 5 by 11. So obviously 11 across the top, and we're going to score this at 7. Because it's thicker paper, I'm going to go over it twice. I'm going to score it at 7, at 8, at 9, and then at 10. And this is going to create the little box that you see on the side that is kind of holding it up, giving us the dimension and the layers that we need. So we're going to set that off to the side, and we're going to grab our 3 by 8, and with the 8 across the top, we are going to score at 4, at 5, at 6, and at 7. And again, this is just creating the box that we need to give that dimension that we love. So I'm going to put that away. We're done with the scoring. And so what I am going to do though is on both of these sides. So if I was to just fold burnish the score lines rather, geez, my words. I'm going to want to, before I start doing any of that, as soon as you start folding, because everything is equal, this little piece here is not going to, it's going to make it so that it doesn't actually make a nice clean box and it doesn't fold flat. So we're going to trim a little bit off of this end. So I've got my score lines here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's at the very end of the paper after your score lines. I'm going to take my trimmer and I'm going to trim, you know, it doesn't have to be much. So let's say 1/16. And I'm going to do that to both pieces. So let me get that in there. Okay, so just a little bit, just a little tiny bit off the end. And I'm going to do the exact same thing to the large piece. So again, my score lines are here, 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 and here. So I'm going to take a little bit off that side as well. Nobody sees it, but it will ensure that your card can be flattened and then mailed without any problems. Okay, so put those away. So now I'm just going to go ahead and fold, making sure that I have scored this properly and that my edges are all nicely lined up. Perfect. Burnish those really well. And it is freezing in here. I do have a little kind of heater, but I haven't really used it much because there's too much paper, I feel like. Okay, so this is basically what we're going for, right? Is a little box. And as I'm going to, when I push this down to adhere it, this is how I'm going to push it down, because you do ultimately want to make sure that this lays flat. So that way there's no real overthinking, making sure that, is it pushed in enough? Do I have to pull the bottom out? Like, there's no thinking. You don't have to overthink it. Okay, so I'm going to do the same exact thing. So with my, I don't think it's anything that I've really talked about. So with my score lines, I used to kind of be on the fence, like, of which way to go. Because when you score something, it's got fur on there. This is kind of how I had the paper. So my score lines now, I have an indent on this side and a little, there's raised on this side. When I score and then when I go to fold it, I like folding where the raised side is. So this is where the raised parts are, and this is where I'm going to be folding and burnishing my score lines. I just feel like I get a better fold, a crisper fold. So, you know, I don't know if that's necessarily the most popular way of doing it, but that is how I have now started to really kind of lean towards that side. So much so that in the second card, there's two kind of folds that we need to do, or two kind of score lines that we need to do. And I'll do one on one side and one on the other side of the sheet. And we'll get into that later. So but I digress. Okay. So now we have our score lines like this. So we are going to take this last piece, and that's where we're going to be putting our tape. So our page has all been scored like this. You want to put it on the front because that is where it's going to stick to the bottom of the paper. So I am using my score tape today because I really want this secure. I'm probably also going to add some glue, which I did to my other ones, because glue gives you that a little bit of wiggle room, which is always helpful when we are making cards. Okay, so my glue, there we go. And I'm just gonna give a little swipe across both of the rows of score tape. And as I go to fold this, okay, so the easiest way is to fold it in half. Don't worry about the box right now. And then we're going to fold that over and just press down. It will create the box, and it will adhere perfectly. It's where it needs to be, right? So there you go. So it's so simple. There really isn't a lot of muss or fuss with this. So we're going to do the exact same thing with the smaller piece. I'm going to grab my score tape. We are going to put 2 rows on the very last scored panel facing up. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to put some glue, although with this method, there really isn't quite the need to put the glue on because I feel like it is I'm pretty sure that, you know, by folding it in half and just pressing, that you are going to get this on point every single time. So again, whoops. We've got our 4 score lines, 1, 2, 3, and of course the one that we just put the glue on. So on the second score line, I'm folding, and then I'm folding on the last score line. I'm going to press that down, and again, beautifully made box. It is exactly where we want it. Okay, so the next part is we are going to grab the last piece of white. Actually, before I do this, because I realized after I actually assembled the entire thing and then was like, well, with the exception of I didn't put this on, but I had assembled the base part and I put this layer on and then realized I had to put something underneath the mat and the layer on this part. So I'm going to be wise this time and learn from my mistake. And I'm going to find my piece that fits in here. So this piece is going to be the larger piece that is 5 3/4 by 4 3/4. And I'm going to grab my grass because that is the one that I wanted to layer this. So I'm going to layer these 2 pieces first and then apply them. And you could always have like a secret message, I guess, if you wanted to. Again, like the beautiful thing is this is an idea. So anything that you want to do now, obviously you don't have to use this paper. If you do, we have it in stock. So I know a very reliable source that you can get it from. fabulouspaperemporium.com would be amazing. But you don't have to. You can use whatever paper you want. This would make a lovely Christmas card, of course, for next year. We're already done with Christmas, Valentine's Day, Easter. You know, you can make these as, you know, place cards as well. You can kind of do double duty there if you wanted to. Okay, and then I'm going to lay this. I'm going to push that box out of the way a little bit. Lay this down. And that way you're not having to kind of like muss or fuss with the top layer, which we are going to put on here, right? So it allows you, it gives you complete, you know, unimpeded access. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to layer this panel up. So this is the piece that is 5 1/4 by 4 3/4. So again, make sure you have it in the right orientation because this is going to lay on top of here. So you want to make sure that you've got your paper and your layers all in the right direction. Okay, so 5 1/4 is at the top. And this is how we're going to layer it. Isn't that cute? The cute little colored tennis balls. It's got a beautiful plaid on the back. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to layer this up first. We're going to apply it to our white base. And then we can add it to the base. Okay, so make sure I've got that right where I want it. I'm going to put this on my white piece now. I'm pretty sure the dog is like hounding my husband to go out for a WALK. He's in an earshot, so I can't say the word. I took him this morning, but that wasn't good enough. It's never good enough. I don't know if walks with mom are so much fun. Anyhow, and then we're going to layer this up on here. Okay, so again, I'm going to grab my score tape because I want this to be a very secure attachment between the two. It's a little bit more challenging, shall I say, when you're putting this on the white cardstock, but it helps, at least on this side, knowing, you know, that I can see the green, so obviously I know where too far is. So I'm just going to peel the backing off of these two strips. I am going to add glue this time because when I go to layer that top piece, I want to be able to wiggle that around a bit if I don't have it, if I don't get it right on the money the first time. So I'm going to kind of line that up with the score line as best I can. And then of course you're looking at the top and the bottom. There we go. So that's what we have so far. And you could easily stop here. If this is as far as you want to go and you like it like that, by all means, that's where you can stop. It's totally fine. It's a lovely card like this. And you would just embellish the front. But we're going to go one step further. And we've got this piece now. Since we've cut it, we might as well use it. And it's going to go like this. So we were flipping this around and we're putting this on the top. Like I said, the card video that I had seen, pardon me. Apparently the gas meter guy was a threat to the house. I apologize. So the video that I had seen, they had put this kind of in the middle of the panel, but it seemed to throw off the balance. So I just prefer and it's just me, to put it at the bottom. And I like the fact that it looks it kind of looks like a step this way. It looks like a step that way. It's just stepping all over the place. So that's what I prefer to do. And I'm going to do my layering ahead of time, like I did on the other ones. And I didn't cut this correctly at all. I don't even understand what I've done here now. That is really super bizarre. Okie dokie. Oh, you know what I've done is that's 3.5. I made a boo-boo here, but that's okay. I am going to take my monster trimmer. Sorry. Bear with me 1 second. This is my big beast of a workhorse, and it can cut through multiple layers at once. I love this for paper trimming when I'm doing a lot of cardstock at once. Plus it's self-sharpening, I believe is the word. Okay, so easy peasy, we're all done. And you could, if you made that mistake, you could always do that too. Okay, so we're back in business. That makes way more sense. Okay, so pay attention. Super cute bone kind of pattern on that side. And then we've got our little doggy kind of Polaroids on the other side. I try to get in, at least 2 dogs as full of a frame as I possibly could. And they're super, super cute. And what I did on my original is, because I had cut off some of the pattern on the top, that's just where I put my sentiment. Just have fun. And I believe that's probably what goes through most dogs' heads every single day. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to layer this card piece up, and then we are pretty much done. We just have our little side pieces to do, and then we'll be good to go. grief. Dog is going absolutely bananas today. I don't understand it. Okay. So now to put this piece on here, we are going to need to put on some of this handy dandy score tape, which is super strong, super durable. It's amazing. I love using it. I use it for all my albums, and it's never failed me. The only time where I maybe curse it when I put something down in the wrong space and then go to try to lift it up, then it's my enemy. So hence the glue. Glue saves me more than times than I can recall. Okay, so I am going to fold that, because we've got our gluey pieces on this side. And again, the same thing with the other is I'm just going to put that to the score line. Make sure I've got that all lined up at the bottom. Give that a good press. And there we go. So we are, sometimes you need to kind of fold it back. So we are well on our way. The only last two little bits that we need to do are get our glue on these two side panels. And then we are done. Make sure I've got that in the middle. I kind of goofed there a bit. As much in the middle as I possibly can get. I love the look of like blue, navy, this navy blue and white. I absolutely love that look. And the paper is so fun. It's bright and happy. There we go. You could also put something on the side too. You know, a little saying, a sentiment, you know, puppy dog's name. So there we go. So that is the double side step up card. So there's number one, number two. Those are our two cards. So what I said before is I've taken this card and I used it as inspiration, because I think I was getting a little bit hung up on the fact that I can't open it. I can't, you know, there's kind of no way for the recipient to kind of, like I said, to open it. There's not a lot of space for a sentiment on the front when you display it. So what I've come up with is, and we're using magnets. I don't think I've ever used a magnet for a card. But, and I'm not sure, I think I'd say this is a dual-sided step fold with magnetic closure is what I'm going to call it. And this is what it looks like. So I've taken the panel that we had put on this side, made it the same height. So now it kind of opens like this. So the magnet that we have, there's a magnet back here and a magnet here. And I've basically done it so that you can actually open it and you could have your sentiment on the inside there. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and we're going to make this next. Very, very similar. So if you're able to do the first one, you're able to do the second one. And if you've never used magnets before, that is totally fine, because you can use them here. You could also use those, what are they called? Oh, it's a closure. I was going to say Ziploc. It's not Ziploc. Oh my gosh, I have such bad memory right now. It's driving me crazy. Oh my goodness. I'm going to look for it. And then maybe while I look for it, I'll be able to. Okay. So I've got these little circles that are like that. Oh my gosh, why can't I? Velcro! Read the label. So you can use these Velcro stickers. The only thing with the Velcro stickers is they're going to be you're going to be able to see them. You can't put that under the paper and kind of hide it and disguise it. So it's really completely up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. If you happen to have Velcro, use Velcro. If you happen to have magnets, use magnets. These are the magnets that I'm using today. They're super thin. So there's 2 magnets here. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily super, super strong. I feel like the first batch of magnets I got were stronger. So you're not, today is going to be a test. Right now, I've got the magnet here. So there's 1 layer of paper and there's 1 layer of paper. I won't be putting, like we're going to be building this from scratch, but I won't be putting a designer paper on this side, I don't think, but I will on this. And this way, I'm hoping that the magnets they're still attracted to each other through all those layers of paper. So these are the magnets that I use. I don't sell them, but I will put the link in the description below if you are interested in buying them. I just got them off Amazon, so there's that. Okay, so we're going to go through the measurements for this beautiful card, and I'm using the same exact paper as we did the first round. So it's the Fetch by Photoplay. So we start off very similar to the first one in that we have a base that is 11 by 5. We have another base. Now this time, because everything is going to be the same height, this one is 8 by 5. And then we have a piece that is 5.5 by 5. So everything is the same height. Perfect. Now we've got all of our layers for the dark blue. I'm going to set those up. Okay. So for the dark blue pieces, we now have a piece that is try to read my writing here. Okay, so they are going to vary a little bit. So this is 4.25 by 4 3/4 for our first. This one is 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. Yeah. And this one is, this is going to go this way, is 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. And then we have a bunch of strips. So these are all 3/4 of an inch and they're 4 3/4 tall. So I have 6 pieces cut here. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all 6, and I'll tell you why. So we obviously have 2 sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fine. That's a given. So we're going to need at least 4. The other panels are on the inside. And as you can see here, I didn't put them in. So I am going to put them in on my second one. And again, it's completely up to you whether or not you want to put them on the inside as well. It gives you more space. You can use more designer paper. If you were to use designer paper on top of these, the measurement would be 1/2 inch by 4.5. I'm not going to do that because, you know, I just didn't want to. So for the inside, I'm going to, my designer paper now. So for the inside bottom panel, this is 4.5 by 4.5. I've got, again, the grass, which is 4 by 4.5. I did cut this super cute panel because there is a page with all these strips of like dog houses. So I did cut off a panel that is, it's going to be, I think 4 by, this one is 1 3/4. Now the reason why it's 1 3/4 is because that's what the strip was like. I would pull it out. So my idea is setting it up like that. And then for my top piece, I took one of the cut aparts. Think positive. So cute. And this wasn't quite tall enough. So your designer paper for this panel, the front one, is going to have to be 2.5 by 4.5. This wasn't quite tall enough. I think I was short by about like 1/2 inch, give or take. Yeah, so that's 4. I trimmed some off the sides because normally this card would have been 3 by 4. So I trimmed some off each side to bring it down to 2.5, sorry. So it's 2.5, and then I'm going to be putting the strip of striped paper on top. So there we have it. Those are all of our measurements, and we're going to get to put this together. I'm so excited to use magnets for cards. We use them so often in album making for different reasons, usually for closures. I'm not a big fan of doing ribbon, so the magnets is just kind of a really clean way of doing the closures. And so our scoring is going to be very similar to what we were doing the first card. So for the 11 by 5, we're going to put the 11 at the top, and we are going to score at 7, at 8, at 9, and at 10. Sorry, I thought Now here's where, when I was talking before about how I fold and the fact that now I've got kind of a little divot on this side and a little bit of a raised area on this side, I prefer to fold like against the raised part. So I flipped my page. This is how I scored the first 4. I flip my page and I'm going to score this at 6. And what that is going to do is so now I've made my box with the first 4 score marks. The 6 will allow this to open. So that's this score mark on the very top. So just to give you a bit of an explanation as to the method behind the madness. And believe me, there's madness going on. Okay, so now we've got our next piece that is 8 by 5. So with the 8 across the top, same score mark. So we're scoring at 4, at 5, at 6, and at 7. Just like that. We're doing the exact same thing. We're flipping this over, and then I'm going to be scoring this at 3. And this basically does the exact same thing as what I just explained. For the other piece is we've done our box now on this side, and this panel, that score mark at the 3 allows this to open. Excellent. So hopefully that explanation, I know sometimes visually, but like I said, there's sometimes method behind the madness. If you don't want to flip it over, don't flip it over. It's entirely up to you. So now I'm going to fold the way I did. Oh, you know what? Forgot to do one thing. I need to take a little bit off of each end again. And that's going to be so we can get this closed properly in terms of creating our box. Oops, get that moved over quite a little bit more. Okay, so that's done. Now we can get to folding. So I've got that. And again, making sure that each side is nicely lined up so our boxes aren't crooked. And we've got one more fold. And then so that's going to create our box. And then our fold line on the top now is raised. And so I'm just going to fold that backwards and press down. It doesn't have to be quite as, I don't have to burnish that necessarily with bone folder because I do want it to lay flat. So the more I burnish it to go backwards, it's just going to kind of stay like that. So just want to make sure that you know that, that I'm sharing my tips and tricks as I go. Alrighty. Okay. Get the last of the fold lines done. And then we're going to do the exact same thing that we did before. So this one, again, is going to fold backwards. I'm just going to press it down with my fingers, and we're going to create our box, and this is going to be our panel that can flip open. Okay, so adhere the box. We're going to create the boxes the same way that we did before. Is we are going to put our score tape now on what would be, I guess, kind of the front. Okay, so I do that one. Oops. And then I'm going to do this one. Okay, perfect. I choose not to use glue this time because there really is no reason for it. The first time that I did one of the boxes, I was kind of all worried and, you know, fussing and making sure it closed properly, but I'm going to do the same exact method as I did the first time. Fold it in half, fold that over, and we're done. Box. Perfect. So we're going to take off the adhesive backing on these and do the exact same thing. Fold that in half. Get your fingers all stuck and then fold that in half. Away we go. So now these are totally free from, you know, they're able to move back and forth, which allows our card to be like an open card. And it's not just going to be, you know, although it's beautiful, the other cards are beautiful, don't get me wrong, I like them, but I just wanted to do something different, and this is what popped into my head. Okay, so let's get to, we can lay our base piece. Okay, here's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to do all the layering for these, get away, these pieces. So this piece is going to go on the bottom, but remember, we're not really, like, we have to leave some space for this box to go on this side. So I'm not going to put this in yet. I'm just going to do the layering part and get all of that out of the way. I don't have to worry about magnet position on this bottom piece because the magnet is not there. But after we do this, now we get to play with our magnets. Okay. Just put that. Oh. As much in the middle as I possibly can get it. I'll set that aside. Now, these pieces I'm not going to add them. I just realized something though. You are going to need, for our pieces that are, this one that is 4.5 by 4, and the piece that is 2.5, sorry, the piece that is 4.25 by 4 3/4, and the piece that is 2 3/4 by 4 3/4, we need 2 of these, 2 of each of these, in order to hide our magnets on this side. And then I just did this side to be, you know, to keep with the whole look of the card. So I'm going to cut an extra piece of either of those because I don't believe, although I have some scraps, I don't believe I actually cut. I should have, but I did not cut them. So I will be right back with those 2 pieces. Okay. All right. Okay, so Okay, so that's not going to work. 4 1/4 by 4 3/4. So that should be the same as that. Yep. Done and done. And this one is 4 3/4 by 2 3/4. Okay, non-disaster averted. Okay, wasn't really a disaster. Cutting more paper, big deal. I'm going to layer this piece right now because I don't need to worry about a magnet. The magnet goes on the back side. So I am going to layer this piece like that. Now the top piece isn't quite where I want it, but at least it gave me a bit of an eyeball to see where it would be. We'll get those lined up. So that's what the front is going to look like. I'm going to set that aside. And now we have to put this piece together in order to really make sure that our magnets are going to be lined up properly. So I am going to put some tape on this bottom piece because it will be adhered to our base. Base number 1, base number 2. Okay. Peel off the backing. And then I'm going to fold that so that I can get that lined up. You know what? I'm putting some glue. Even the tip of my liquid glue dispenser wants to stick to it. Okay. All right, so I'm just lining that up on the sides. I haven't put it down, my fingers kind of in between. And then as I can see, the top and the bottom are lined up nicely. So that is how we put that part on. So now that we don't have all of it assembled, I'm going to put this part. So now I don't have two flaps to kind of get in my way. I'm going to put this part on now, our base piece, our base layers. And since I'm not really sure what I'm going to be using this for or who I'm going to be giving it to, I'm going to, whoops, I kind of pushed that way. There we go. Okay. So cute little tennis ball paper is there. Then we can add this piece. Oh, I forgot to score this one. My goodness, I think my brain is all over the place. So this one is our 5 by 5.5. So I've got 5.5 across the top. I forgot, we need to make sure that this is an open panel. So we need to score this at 1 inch. Thankfully, all the measurements are going to be in the description box below, as well as scrolling atop the screen. So you don't have to worry if you can't, if you don't like pausing the video, you just have to look at the description below, and I have all the measurements, all the scoring, everything is below. So I'm just going to score that, burnish that really quickly. And that is going to go like that. We're going to apply that there, and that's when we're going to figure out where our magnets go. So again, I'm going to grab my score tape, put that on the panel. Okay, just like that. Easy peasy. I am going to add some glue because I want to make sure that I'm able to wiggle this around if I need to. As soon as I get the backing off. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to fold that so that I can get that all lined up. So I'm lining it up with the score line that's in the middle, and just making sure that my panel is all aligned, top and bottom. Looks good. And so we have it folding like that. So we've got our card is coming along. This is a little bit more involved, of course, because you've got a couple of panels that are now moving. And of course, now is my favorite time. It's magnet time. So I'm going to cut a little square of my double-sided tape. I'm putting the score tape so that my two magnets are pressed together here. So I know that they are like the sides that are attracting are together. And then I'm going to put some score tape on the other side. So now I have score tape on the outside of either side with the magnets stuck together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to peel one of the sides and just kind of like getting a good sense. I don't want it too close to the edge, because if you have too close to the edge, putting down your top mat is going to be very, very challenging. So I'm aiming to kind of put this in the middle. So I can flip this over because this panel is a lot longer in this sense, that I can put this one, let's say right about here. And that way, when I close it, I'm not going to have any issues with the magnet kind of being too close to any of the edges. Okay, so, and now I'm going to peel off the other back. And when I push this down, there's two things I want to be mindful of. Is make sure that the side boxes, that they're not off to one side or the other, because then your magnets are going to kind of pull to one side or the other. So now that I have this kind of all lined up, I'm just going to give that a good press. And now we have our magnets adhered. So it's just as easy as that. Really not as intimidating. So now we can finish up our layering. So you can start, I'm going to cover up this part and I will show you. Sometimes it requires a bit of massaging because, you know, the magnet obviously is a 3D item. And so we will need to kind of get the paper fibers, instead of laying flat, just to kind of curve around the magnet. So we can fold this down because our card is meant to be kind of flattened so that we can get this sent off in the mail if we want. And around the magnet, we're just going to like massage it, like I said, a little bit. Whoops, I guess I had some glue on my fingers. Whoopsie. Okay, so no muss, no fuss there. Okay, so now we have that paper. You can also put double-sided tape on this side of the magnet. It's not going to affect the magnet at all. But some people like doing that to make sure that the magnet is also adhered to the paper as well. So that part is done. I'm going to do the inside on this side as well. And that would be, I believe, this panel. Yep. So I'm just going to put that on really quickly. That'll give me 2 seconds to get that glued and adhered. I'm just kind of holding that in my hand. Oh, that's not exactly centered. Okay, so there we go. So that is done. Perfect. And now we're going to do this side. So now that the magnet is done, I can do my layering like I had wanted to. So I'm going to do all my layering on, you know what? I'm going to put this on first. Sorry. Because I realized that we were going to have to go over that magnet. So here is, like I said, something that you can do. I sometimes do it, but obviously didn't do it on the other side, is you can put a little bit of score tape or double-sided tape on this side, peel that off, apply your glue to your layer, okay, and then we get this layered up. I'm not letting go so it doesn't hit that score tape quite right away, but we do the same thing as what we did for the top, is just making sure that we kind of massage the paper going around the magnet. We don't necessarily are not emphasizing the magnet, but just making sure that the paper is all stuck down. Then we can add our top layer with ease. See, this comes together so quick, so easy. Again, like albums, I used to be so intimidated by using magnets because it is something that it's a step that you can't forget. Because once you have your, once you have your paper down, it's hard to go back. So I'm just going to put this cute little layer of dogs and their dog houses. That's the one thing. My dogs never liked using their dog house. So right now I think we have some stray cats that are using it because it is very cold outside. So that's how that's going to lay up. And this will hopefully, like I said, I'm not sure how good these magnets are. So, oh, it's actually doing it. Yay! I'm pretty excited about that. It's not the strongest grip magnet, so I may look at possibly getting some stronger ones. I didn't really know that there was like a strength to these, but I also, keeping them thin is really what matters, because you do not want like this thick, super thick magnet that you now have to put paper on that is going to be impossible to get the paper around, and you don't really want your magnets to be showing. So anyhow, just a couple of ideas, but it does hold quite nicely. I'm very happy with that. So the last thing to do is apply our strips on either side, on the outside, and I think I'm going to try them on the inside as well. This way I kind of have two options. I get to see them firsthand. Okay, I gotta stop moving this around because otherwise I'm gonna, oh yeah, that's not center. Not even close. There we go, better. I can push that down. Beauty part of this is that it can be mailed. Like for me, I know it's oversized in terms of its overall size. So it's over like the A2, which is 4¼ by 5½. So I know it's bigger than that, but it still can be mailed, and which is important. So you can send it to somebody instead of having to hand deliver it and then explain how it gets opened. I mean, as much as I like making those cards, it can be somewhat challenging and probably have to send them a bit of a how-to video before they start opening it. Just as an FYI, you're going to get this card and here's how you open it. You can show them how to open it and how it stands or what have you, because there's so many cool mechanisms out there. I mean, it really baffles me how people can be so inventive. Okay, and so these are the last two panels that are going to go on the inside. So we're just going to add a little bit of extra glue, pop those on, and they would look super cute. I had thought of possibly using that bone paper, the paper with the bones, but the paper was very similar to the dark blue that I wanted to use as my matte layer. So I decided against it. And maybe when the time comes and I'm actually going to use this, you never know, I might add a little bit of something on here. But ultimately, this is what your card, so your dual-sided step fold with magnetic closure. Ta-da! So we have our first flap, our second flap, plenty of space to write messages, to have a bunch of sentiments. And there we have it. So we've got our first one and our second one. So inspiration for the second one. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something today. And if you did, or if you have any questions, feel free to leave questions or comments in the comments below. Don't forget to give me a big old thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to hit subscribe, and that little bell will tell you anytime I go to post a video. So, and we do have some really exciting videos coming up. The next series that I'm working on, which I'm hoping to have started today or tomorrow, is like a card making 101. So we're going to go through all the tools, then we're going to go through some card basics, everything that you are going to need to get started in card making. So if you've seen this video, you think this is out of your skill set right now, do not worry. This is absolutely, it's totally achievable. I have 100% faith in you. So with that being said, I look forward to seeing you again next time. Stay safe, stay well. Bye.